9 experienced hikers walked into the Ural Mountains and never came back. When their bodies were finally found, the scene made no sense. Some had crushed ribcages with no external wounds. One woman was missing her tongue. Soviet investigators examined every piece of evidence, they interviewed witnesses, they studied the bodies. And after all of it, they wrote just 3 words in the official report: unknown compelling force. 66 years later, nobody has found a better explanation. February 1959, the Ural Mountains, Soviet Union, the kind of cold that doesn't just bite, it thinks. It settles into your bones slowly, deliberately, like it has all the time in the world and you do not. 9 students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute had been here before. They were not amateurs. They were not thrill-seekers chasing danger for a story to tell. They were trained, disciplined, and experienced. The kind of hikers who treated the mountain with respect because they understood exactly what it was capable of. They had maps, they had supplies, they had each other. The route was difficult but manageable. The weather was harsh but survivable. Igor Dyatlov, their leader, had done this before. He knew these mountains the way most people know their own streets. And yet, on the night of February 2nd, something interrupted everything. No warning, no distress signal, no goodbye. Just 9 people who walked into the dark, and a mountain that never gave them back. The group made camp on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl on the evening of February 2nd. It was not their intended stop. A storm had rolled in faster than expected, cutting visibility to almost nothing, and Igor made the call. They would set up here and push forward in the morning. It was a reasonable decision, a smart one, even, the kind of call an experienced leader makes without hesitation. They pitched the tent against the slope for wind protection, ate their dinner, and began settling in for the night. Someone wrote in their group diary that evening. The entry was casual, even light-hearted, small jokes, ordinary observations, the kind of writing that belongs to people who feel completely safe. That diary entry was the last thing any of them ever wrote. Sometime after midnight, something changed on that slope, not gradually, not with warning. Something shifted in the darkness outside that tent. Sudden, absolute, and terrifying enough that 9 calm, rational, experienced people made a decision that defied every instinct of survival they had ever been trained to trust. They didn't use the zipper. That is the detail that changes everything. That is the detail that, decades later, still makes investigators stop and go quiet. The tent was cut open, from the inside, with a knife, slashed in multiple places, hurriedly, desperately, like whoever was holding that blade had no interest in being careful. No interest in anything except getting out, and then they ran. Not walked, not moved cautiously into the darkness the way trained hikers are taught to when danger is unclear. They ran, barefoot, in their underwear, some without jackets, directly into a Siberian night that was sitting at -30 degrees Celsius. They left everything behind: food, boots, coats, warmth. Whatever they saw, whatever they heard, whatever reached them through the fabric of that tent in the dead of that night, it was more terrifying to stay than to run half-dressed into a blizzard that could kill them in minutes. Think about that for a moment. They chose the blizzard, they chose certain freezing darkness over whatever was inside that camp with them. 9 people, 1 decision, no hesitation. When the group failed to return on schedule, a search party was dispatched into the Ural Mountains. What they found on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl on February 26 did not answer a single question, it only created more. The tent was there, half buried under snow, collapsed and slashed open, and leading away from it, footprints. 9 sets pressed deep into the frozen ground, moving in a single direction, away from camp, away from safety, toward the tree line below. The first 2 bodies were found at the edge of the forest, nearly a mile from the tent. Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonischenko, both barefoot, both in minimal clothing, both frozen. Between them, the remains of a small fire. They had tried to survive. They had broken branches from the tree above them. Branches snapped from heights that required climbing, meaning they had gone up into the tree, looking for something, or watching for something. 3 more bodies were found shortly after, scattered between the forest and the tent. They appeared to have been walking back toward camp when death found them. The last 4 bodies were not discovered until May. Buried under 4 meters of snow, hidden in a ravine deeper in the forest, as though something had wanted them found last. And what the medical examiners found on those bodies rewrote everything the investigators thought they understood about that night. Nikolai Thibault-Brignoles had massive skull fractures, not surface wounds, not injuries consistent with a fall or a fight, the kind of structural damage that requires enormous, deliberate force, the kind of force a human being cannot generate with their bare hands. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov had catastrophic chest injuries, multiple broken ribs, crushed inward, with such precision and pressure that the forensic examiner compared it directly to the impact of a high-speed automobile collision. But there were no vehicles on that mountain, no avalanche debris, no external wounds on the skin, no bruising, no cuts, nothing to explain what had driven that force through their bodies from the outside. And then there was Lyudmila. Her eyes were gone, her tongue, her lips, the soft tissue of her mouth, removed entirely. The official report could not determine how, it could not determine when. The mountain had taken something extra from her, something personal. Investigators proposed avalanche, but the snow displacement was wrong, the slope angle was wrong, and experienced mountaineers would have heard it coming. The tent showed no avalanche damage consistent with burial under moving snow. That theory collapsed under its own weight. They proposed panic, mass hysteria, some collective psychological break that drove 9 rational people into the night. But panic does not crush ribcages. Panic does not remove a woman's tongue with surgical precision. Panic does not explain radiation. Because when the final 4 bodies were tested, 2 of them came back with contamination levels that had no business being on a civilian hiking expedition in the middle of the Ural Mountains. Radioactive isotopes. Present, unexplained, quietly buried in the back pages of a Soviet report that was classified for decades. The Soviet government sealed the case files in 1959 and told the families nothing useful. The files were partially released in the 1990s. Researchers who studied them came away with more questions than answers. One lead investigator, late in his life, was asked directly, "What happened on that mountain?" He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said he believed something had been tested that night. Something that was never meant to have witnesses. The case was officially reopened by Russian authorities in 2019. After months of reinvestigation, they announced their conclusion. A small avalanche, combined with panic, had caused the deaths. Case closed, mystery solved. Nobody who had studied the evidence believed them. Because avalanches do not explain radiation. They do not explain crushed chests with unbroken skin. They do not explain a missing tongue and 60 years of unanswered questions that every new investigation only makes deeper. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old. Lyudmila Dubinina was 20. They were not reckless, they were not unprepared. Whatever happened on Kholat Syakhl found them anyway. And that is the detail that never leaves you. 9 experienced people chose to run barefoot into a blizzard rather than stay inside a tent. They chose certain death over whatever was in that darkness with them. What was worth running from that badly? Nobody knows, and somehow, that is the most terrifying answer of all.